Oh no.
Ayan, live na po tayo ngayon, guys. Hey guys, welcome to
We're
uh, a long-awaited, wow, long-awaited, long-awaited
a
What?
long-awaited birthday.
of a return of Level Up Geek Nights, the podcast. And
Well,
tonight we have a special topic tonight, and we have a special guest. Wow, first
Oh,
time,
special. special.
first time. Hopefully not the last,
well,
not the last.
hopefully not just a guest. Long time member of our community. Sige ikaw John, go take it. Go.
Alright, so tonight we are going to be talking about Inside Out 2. So if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert, magkakaroon tayo ng spoilers dito, but it's really a really good movie that we recently watched, and there's a lot of things that we can dissect in terms of um, finding God in Inside Out 2. How does God actually play a role in that movie? And so, with that being said, let me just introduce myself. My name is John, and I am um, part of the Level Up crew. And together with me is, of course, our CEO, Boss Mang, COO, Boss Mang, and
Been a
recently
while.
married. Congratulations! Woohoo!
Yes. Hello.
John G. John G.
The
Introduce
wife
yourself.
is
Say hi.
behind me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Um, yes, basta andyan yan.
And of course, our resident life coach. Wow, life coach.
Wow. Di ako
Oh
sanay.
no.
Life coach.
Our our resident life troll. De joke.
Life coach slash troll. Alex.
Our
Hello.
multi-faceted friend.
Hi guys.
So, yun.
Yeah, Alex.
At parang nakamute na naman ako. Hindi. Akala ko nakamute na naman ako. Sorry naman. Anyway, so with that being said, we're gonna talk about Inside Out
Mm.
2. We're gonna talk about the movie. We're gonna talk about some life lessons that we can learn from it, and of course, we're gonna talk about how it actually all connects to God. With that being said, John, maybe you have questions for us.
Questions or at least a structure.
Yeah.
Okay, so structure natin as usual is we do the what is. What is Inside Out 2? Why are we talking about it? And then second point which we'll try to do is like, okay, ano yung pinaka biggest takeaways mo from the movie? Like, what are the big things that you really liked? And then from there, we'll see like, okay, speaking as a Christian, what are the things you've learned from a Christ following biblical perspective?
Yeah.
And then concluding statements.
Yeah.
So that is our general format for this evening.
Okay. Cool.
Sound
Okay.
good? Sound good? Sound good?
Sound good. Okay, so
It
napanood naman
better.
natin lahat ng Inside Out 2, right?
Well,
Hala.
here
Joke lang.
here in this group, in this trio of talking heads, which is why you don't have one of our other regulars with us, House on, because he hasn't watched it yet.
Yes.
Gasp.
Must not say feel bad, man.
Feels bad, man.
Yeah. And
Ano
actually,
ba yan?
ang maganda, and as for the women, they're all predisposed at the moment um, with their own personal concerns. So,
Mga health-related slash family concerns.
so please do pray for them if you have the time. Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
So anyway, Inside Out 2,
Much
a
appreciated.
little bit background of Inside Out 2. Actually, this is a second movie. It's a sequel to
Yes.
Inside Out 1. Napanood naman natin ang Inside Out 1, di ba?
Ah.
It's a
Yeah.
great
Joke
sequel.
lang.
Good sequel.
I remember listening to a YouTube content creator saying that this is probably the last Inside Out was probably one of the last good Pixar movies. And surprisingly
Na
enough,
original.
uh, uh, the movie was came out in 2015. Ang tagal na pala, no? So it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So it's
Although the
9 years.
pandemic, I'm sure, put a delay to a lot of things.
So a little bit more,
Kasi pre-pan. Oo.
a little bit more background that is that this is actually Pixar's 28th movie. Wow. Talaga
Okay.
merong ano. And
Dami na pala, no?
how do I know this? Is because the jersey number of Riley in the movie is 28. Wow. They really matched the number with the number of the films that Pixar has already released. So it's been 9 years so since 2015's first release. And actually, I was looking forward to this one because I really loved the first movie, Inside Out. Um,
Mm.
because it kind of really explored how emotions actually uh, gather or direct the actions of a lot of people. And actually,
Influence.
influence. And in
Oo.
fact, it is biblical. No? There, in that regard, there's a biblical basis where emotions can directly affect how we act. No? And it's interesting to
Right.
also note that the emotions are not set the way that they designed it. The emotions are in the mind, not in the heart.
Heart.
Diba? Which is
Yeah.
true din, diba?
Mm.
Scientifically, it's actually true. Hindi siya sa puso, nasa mind
Different
talaga siya.
different parts of the brain
So I guess ang
are
question ko, let's start with, what did you think about Inside Out 2? What what was the movie? You know? Who wants to go first?
sige. Initial impressions was, well, for me, well, it's a sequel, but it's a sequel that I kind of, when I realized it was there, parang, oh nga no, this was fun. Like, I liked it. And I can't say I was looking out for it, but after watching it, it's like, hey, this feels like a parang siyang Shrek, in the sense that the first Shrek was a little more childish, and then the second Shrek suddenly took a whole level more complex. There was more nuance, and it became more adult friendly. Like, it had a depth to it which kaya cater to adults, I would like to say. So that's me.
I agree with that. Ikaw, Alex.
Okay, for me, yung Inside Out 2 is more of a in-depth look on, basically it's about puberty, on how emotions work during those times. So,
Right.
uh, it also involves how people really grow. It shows the example from Inside Out 1, as children, we learn our different emotions. We instantly get angry, we need joy, we fear many things, we are disgusted with many things. Showing the clips of Riley growing up in the first
Oo.
movie. So there is where her emotions controls her actions. While in this stage, in this Inside Out 2 movie, it shows how she builds her relationship with others, especially with from changing from schools and getting into, I think, high school or middle school.
Mm-mm.
So it's more on the in-depth part. What happens next when we grow up? So maybe there will be a third one, a harder one.
Yeah,
But
because in this one it's like early puberty, and then
yeah,
we know that later puberty medyo it continues to even get more complicated.
yes. So a little info about the movie. It should have been darker based on the creators. I think they removed two specific emotions. I did not know what emotions they removed from the movie, but if they said if they added jealousy, I think one of them was jealousy. If jealousy was
Yeah.
there, it would be more darker in a sense based on the creators, based on their interviews. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yun nga eh. Ginawa nilang envy, di ba?
yeah, they envy and jealousy was supposed to be twins.
Eh?
That was the original plan, I think,
Plan.
based on
Oo.
the interviews. Then they removed jealousy to reduce the weight of the actual movie. So the
Yeah,
other
because it's quite
the
heavy
oth-
already.
yeah, the other emotion that they did not mention the name of the other emotion that they took away. So generally the Inside Out 2 movie really hits many people, especially our generation or adults, because they have experienced it, and I think they are generally the target market of this movie. So there.
It's the target market of the movie, but it's also good for the kids who are also going through puberty to understand that there are new and more nuanced emotions coming out in them. So actually, it has a good coverage.
Yeah.
Hindi siya for young kids. It's actually, well, hindi siya for small kids. It's for teens and up.
Yeah.
So it's still a kid-friendly movie. So you can still explain to them like, oh, when you grow up, you know, you'll have more thoughts, more feelings, more emotions. You have a larger variety.
And
So,
I
but
think
yeah, anyway,
in terms of the how do I say it, the audience, I think the audience talaga is the audience that you had in 2015. And so parang these are the audience that
yeah,
have
true,
kind of grown up already or are
right?
growing up. And so parang looking now that parang we're being introduced to these new emotions. Kasi honestly, how can you explain to a little kid what ennui is? Even I have a
Yeah.
hard time explaining ennui. Diba? So
It's the
parang,
boredom.
yeah.
It's the boredom.
And it's not just simple boredom because if it's just simple boredom, yung parang I'm bored, I don't know what to do. It's the boredom where I even though I have something that I can do, I'm just bored. Yung ganon na feeling. And that's so hard to
Which is
explain.
it's very certain age. It's like yung tama naman. It's like at 11, 12, young teen going on teens kind of thing.
And I think the other emotion that they were going to explore, I saw it in a special,
Mm.
Schadenfreude, which is the
Schaden,
it's
Schadenfreude.
yes,
Yes.
it which is again it's kind of dark and complicated to explain,
It
but
is.
it is an emotion where you find joy in the displeasure of others when others
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
That's
experience.
dark.
it is a bit dark. It is a bit dark because it's yeah, tama. It's the emotion you feel when others fail, don't succeed, get hurt. It's like, oh, someone fell and then you laugh at them. It's kind of that kind of emotion, which yes, it's true, it exists, but it's also not a really great emotion.
Right?
Interestingly,
It's kind of hard to explain. No?
but
Um,
yes.
yeah, even the idea of having jealousy is kind of hard to explain because to most people, envy and jealousy are the same thing. But
Mm.
actually they're two different things. And it's kind of hard to explain jealousy in the context of this because again, I go back. Ennui is already hard to explain.
Yeah.
Even the word itself, ennui, oui.
It's from it's French and
So ako for me really Inside Out 2 really was fun. I think it's nice that they explore the new emotions. I think parang more I like the idea in the first movie where some emotions are a combination of emotions. They're not just simple emotions. So like for example the combination of joy and sadness could actually be something like remembering something that's sad, but it's actually also brings joy at the same time. So it's I like that idea, but we're now exploring more complex emotions that doesn't necessarily fall into any of the first five categories. No,
yeah.
no.
They're more they're more nuanced and more specific emotions. Like we had a discussion about like how some of the emotions. Okay, so let's introduce the new emotions first. You have anxiety, you have envy, you have
Ennui,
shame.
wala, no shame is not there.
Embarrassment.
Embarrassment.
Embarrassment, sorry. Embarrassment, sorry. Embarrassment and Anui. And then we had a cameo from Nostalgia who arrived one movie too early.
Yeah.
Or two movies too early. It's like, oh, you're more than 10 years too early. Wait until you get to 30 or something. But yeah, so it's basically those four new ones, right? So anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and ennui, right?
Actually, I've seen jokes going around about a third movie where it's adult Riley, and they're like there's like emotions like depression because anxiety developed into
Oh,
depression. I'm
Yeah.
like,
I'm like I'm like depression. Anyway, let's get into that. I don't think depression is a valid emotion. I think it's a state.
yeah, I agree with
But
that.
yes, in any case,
So and besides, you already have
um,
sadness. You can't have a depression over
I think it's
sadness.
a very deep mode of sadness.
Yes.
we'll see how. Let's see if how they would do that because they're not done with the upgrading the control room yet, diba?
Yeah.
Like they're still finished. They're still working on it. So we'll see how it goes. So yun. So anyway, where were we? Where were we?
Okay, so according to the comments though, according to Sumi, patay gutom emotion at 3 a.m.
Ah,
Oh
hunger is
no.
a physical need, not an emotion, but noted.
Ellie says embarrassment is her favorite. My gosh, embarrassment.
Embarrassment was cute. He was a cute
Embarrassment is
guy.
I can feel embarrassment, and I find it funny that sadness is the one that empathizes with embarrassment. Like,
Yeah, because we were talking about how like okay, you have these more early age emotions, the more quote unquote core or younger emotions. And then when they get older, you have more types of emotions. So like embarrassment should be under who? Like who is he more closely affiliated with? Fear.
I think
Should be
fear.
fear, right?
Yes.
I would say fear.
Embarrassment.
Yeah, because
And
fear, some people are afraid to be
Yeah.
embarrassed.
No.
'Di ba?
Right.
yeah, a lot of the emotions. Here's an interesting thing. A lot of the emotions are close to fear. Anxiety is close to fear. Embarrassment is close to fear. Um, those two.
Yeah.
Enui obviously is not close to fear, but I don't know who I don't know who she's close to. Boredom, right? It's like the opposite of joy, because like it's like the lack of energy. And then there's envy. Envy is I don't know who to connect to envy.
I think envy is kind of related to disgust in a way.
It's a weird thing.
But the way, because that's how they portray disgust in the film. Disgust is the one that um, allows
Right.
Riley to be the cool kid, no, parang or to parang
Mm.
to stay away from things that are not
They're not
nice.
that she doesn't like. So
Yes.
it's a like dislike thing. So envy is like the opposite of her. She's like disgust is I don't like, where
Yes.
else envy is I really like.
Yes. So they're
So
like they can actually be twins in a way if jealousy is not there. They can actually be twins,
right.
opposite
It's like
twins.
an opposite twins kind of thing going on. Yeah. So this is my younger sister envy. I'm disgust. Kind of works.
So who's nostalgia? Joy.
An older
Nostalgia
Joy.
is Joy. Nostalgia is Joy's grandma. Joy's grandma, I would say. I do hope. Okay, but I mean, it's really cool, but I do hope they have more positive emotions. I know they're saying like, oh yeah, the emotions aren't positive or negative. Um, and to a certain extent, I agree. Na you can't say an emotion is specifically positive or negative, but from a certain point of view, I still think it's like some emotions are more conducive to positive things, whereas some are more negative.
But I think
But of course, too much of one, as we've seen through in the first movie, And we also see in this movie, if one emotion drives your character or behavior too much, it produces bad outcomes.
I think, but we also have to, I think, put into perspective that the way that they portrayed the emotions is that they're not actually one dimensional. Joy is not just
Right.
joy. No, I actually like the fact that anger said, "I can't always be rage all the time."
I think I wish they also put an emotion inside the emotion. It would be fun. Like
It
Inception.
is fun. It is fun. Yeah.
No, because like,
And it's also nice to see the emotions of the other people, right? That was also a
Yeah.
fun thing that I like. Like you see the other people in the thing. So yeah, actually, yung sa first movie is really focused on Riley, and then this one now is like we're still focused on Riley, but now we get glimpses of the in. It's not just her; it's the interactions between everyone. So that's cool. I like that one also.
no, I also like one of the things that I actually found interesting in the movie, which is I also found in
Mm,
Inside Out one, is that each person seems to have a major driving emotion. Like for
right.
example, Riley's
Joy.
primary I don't know, driver is joy. But if you look at
Right.
the mother of Riley, the main emotion there is sadness. The main emotion of the dad is anger.
Right. And then also you see her friends. For her friends, the main emotion is of one of them is also joy, and then the main emotion of the one who looks in, like the Asian girl,
Yeah.
is fear.
Yeah, I saw that too. Fear for the Asian girl.
Yeah.
So we were joking around when we were
How
watching this
typical.
movie that when you're Asian, it's more on fear.
It's fear. Shame on your family. I
Shame
don't
on your
know.
cow.
Shame on your cow. I guess.
Yeah, so it tells us also as well, I think, that sometimes that certain people have certain primary personalities or emotions that usually come out right away, that you actually see right away.
Mm.
So like in the case of Riley, she's really generally a joyful person. So that's why
Yeah.
joy is the one that is the primary driver. And I think even
Uh-oh.
in the end of the film, it's like Sadas was saying, Riley's calling to you, Joy. Meaning to say,
Yeah, and then yeah.
that's really how her core self has developed a state of joy, basically. Which
And
is
that is
when
super interesting because like also another concept they introduce is yung sense of self identity, right?
Yeah.
Like how her core emotions. Remember we were talking about that like I mean it's something we talk about recently like when we were younger we didn't think about the idea of core emotions. But then as we got older, core emotions became a thing, right? Like
was interesting for me though is that not just the core emotions, is that eventually she started to develop her core beliefs, her belief system.
right.
No, and I
Mhm.
think that's interesting to note that normally kids when they're young they don't have a belief system. You know, they
Right.
go with whatever their parents tell them, society tells them, etc. But eventually they create that sense of self eventually, and it's interesting to note that it isn't really emotions that's driving their sense of self. Emotions are just facilitating uh,
Mm.
the sense of self, but their sense of self is based on their experiences
Experiences and memories.
and
Yeah.
memories.
So that's the experiences and memories. Although each experience and memory has emotional undertones, which is why when they have the memory balls, right, the core memory balls, you have shades of like whether is it a mostly joyful memory, an angry memory, a sad memory, and then they have like different nuances of colors, right? So some colors are more dominant, some are more parang supporting or secondary. I like that too. Like, oh, you get to see like this is a joyful emotion, but there's a hint of sadness in it. So things like that. Those are fun. Mm.
Question.
Alright.
Um,
Hi.
I think one of the things that made me question actually while watching the film and even watching the previous film is that is it
Mm.
really emotions that drive a person's actions?
Mm. Oh, that's a really interesting discussion because okay, I have a thought, but I want you guys to. I want to hear you from you guys first.
I want to hear from the life coach.
Okay, so
In training, our life was
emotions
in training.
does emotions really run a person's actions? That was the question, right?
Yes.
For me, more on based on what's happening from the first movie and the current movie, it's more on the sense of self, really. Because, uh, spoilers for everybody, uh, Joy was filtering out the bad things in Riley's mind. So,
Right. She's trying to
so
make it only joy,
only
mostly
yeah,
joyful emotions.
only good stuff, and then
Oh, good
all
stuff.
the all the bad things
Bad
turned into
stuff.
a giant mountain. So
Back of
it
the brain, throw it into the subconscious.
yeah, so it led to a bad thing, really. So I think it really is our memories, our sense of self really moves our actions, and the emotions were just like representations that, example, I am happy, I'm gonna do this. What made me happy is when I was a kid, I was with my father going to some place. So
Mm.
when I grew up, I do the same thing. I go out and I try to see what the world looks like. So it's similar to that for me. So in Riley's case, uh, there was a betrayal in the movie.
Well, she
That's
felt it as if there
yeah,
was.
yeah. She felt betrayed because her two best friends were not gonna join the hockey team once they graduate
Went to the
from yeah.
next school. Uh-uh.
Then I think that's when puberty alarm strikes, where anxiety kicks in and anxiety tries to take over, doing what Joy was doing. She was taking away all the control from the other emotions, which bottled the five main emotions. It was a it was a fun point of view that
It was.
our main emotions growing up, we tend to bottle them up, and then sometimes we explode in the end.
Yeah.
So there, that's my
That's a
take
good
on the.
I love that scene actually. Where Fear goes, "Oh no, we're suppressed emotions."
that was fun. That was funny, but it's also true. I think because like as you grow up or when you grow out of your that's why they say like kids. Oops. We had a cameo from Shyla in the back. Kita yung Shh. Anyway, ano yun? When we're kids, our emotions. Okay, here's my take. When you're younger, emotions are a bigger and stronger output in you. So, do I say, do our emotions control, uh, how did you phrase it? Do our emotions con- drive our actions? I would say yes, especially when you're a child. Because you're feeling something and you just express it.
Yeah.
That's how kids are. When they're feeling something, they express it. And then they only learn to control their actions when they get older, right? So this is when emotions slowly start to be restrained or bottled and suppressed. But there are lots of things. Emotions now are being handled. They're not just always just expressing themselves. Unlike when you're a kid, which we see in certain ways. For example, um, like what you pointed out, sadness is the driving emotion in Riley's mom, and anger is the driving emotion in Riley's dad. However, when something alarming came about, how did they respond to their daughter? Um, Dad anger did not explode in anger, and sadness mom did not explode in sadness. They actually, if you notice, they had a uniform. They have like their own attire, right? Which means to say, yeah, which means it seems to imply, at least, I mean, I might be overreading it, but for me, I take it as you're adults, you've learned to, supposedly, if you're an adult, you've learned to control your emotions and not suppress it, but manage them properly. That they're there, di ba? They're all at the control panel, but they're not running wild. They're not smashing the buttons, right? They were all like they were all present, but they weren't smashing the buttons. They weren't overriding the alarms with their colors, right? Unlike in Riley's case, in which her emotions are still coming out, di ba, the sensitivity of her emotions are now higher but more nuanced, and they don't know how. She doesn't know how to. Basically, she doesn't know how to regulate her deeper and wider variety of emotions. So yes.
I think there are two instances where this is shown eh. Yung number one, yung later on we see that in the dad's head and in the mom's head, anxiety comes out. But anxiety is like, she, what do you call this? The head emotion goes, "No, no, it's okay, it's fine, you know." Meaning to say that anxiety does not take over. No, and that the other emotions are still trying to manage it properly. No, I think the other show this showed when they first used the new panel, the puberty panel. This what do you call
Yeah.
this? Anger presses something, and then it just the Riley goes completely ballistic. And then like I only pressed one button, and then he went crazy, and like
It's like, oh, there's something wrong with this thing. So yeah,
It's upgraded.
it's
That's why.
upgraded. You have now a sensitivity dial, so be more sensitive. It's funny. She has to be more sensitive with her emotions. It's fun. Yeah. With that said,
I think with that
mm,
said, I think what really drives the illustration here that I think that is beautiful is that what really drives the one that actually drives the actions of although emotions will be the one to direct the actions, but the one that's in control eventually is the sense of self. Who what
mm,
the core belief system. So if their belief system is this, they are more likely to do a certain action. So remember
yeah,
at the part where anxiety was just building and building a different sense of self, and then it came out that the sense of self is I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. The actions of Riley started to come out like that, that she is not good enough. She's doing everything because she's not good enough. No,
mm,
and I like how they that translated into an actual anxiety attack. No, someone who is
yeah. She had a anxiety attack, panic. Actually, it's an interesting thought because this also ties into what I think is yung age of self awareness and self identity. So how do you put it? Like, so we know that when you're kids, you don't quite have, how do you put it? Um, you aren't held accountable for your actions because you're still growing up, right? But people are like, at a certain point, you're not just driven by your chemicals, hormones, whatever. You have a sense of self identity and self determination there. At yun yung idea ko. So medyo we're gonna be touching a little this term. Self determination. You can determine what the course of action you want to take regardless of your emotions, which is very interesting because there's a scene in the movie where the emotion is like driving her, like, we want you to do this based on this emotion. And it's like, Riley isn't doing the thing we want her to do, despite the fact that we at the control panel are pushing this emotion. And I think that's like the initial phase where Riley, or a person at that age, which is like puberty, early teens, they're developing that sense of deeper identity and self-determination na hindi na lang sila driven by baser things like emotion, hunger, anger, whatever, all these things. Hindi lang siya driven by that. So there is a graduation from I am driven by emotions, because you said, like, are people driven by emotions? Yes, when they're children you can be. But when you get older, maturity and self-determination becomes learned or should be learned. That's what makes people adults, supposedly. Yun lang, not everyone gets over or learns to regulate and self-determinate outside of their emotional whatever, right? Sometimes it's still messy. And Riley's case, she had a very supportive and apparently mature set of parents, right? The mom was supportive, the dad was not. Despite the dad being an angry person, he actually never gets angry the entire time, right? If you think about it, he never quite exploded. He gets riled up, but he doesn't explode, right? So parang in all cases, they do express their emotions, but they don't fly off with their emotions. So mukhang healthy parents sila, more or less. So Riley grows up with a good support because her parents love her and everything. So she can focus on wala siyang additional baggage or trauma. It's just pure growth of her character, right? So it's like, yeah, we see that. And I think I connect this to the Christian element by saying, like, this is also where I don't know if this connects directly, but alam mo yung parang some people ask, like, at what point are you old enough to choose Christ? And for me, this is a good reflection of that. When are you old enough to choose Christ? When you're no longer, when you should no longer be too old or too young, whatever's the right term, I'm not sure right now, na hindi ka lang driven by your emotions, etc. Basically, post-puberty, candidate ka na for self-determination. Then, you make your choice at that point in your life, at your stage in your life. So, at that point and onwards, of course, you can always decide when you're older. But that's like the earliest stage where it makes a shift, because that is when your sense of identity and emotions now start to become, they come under your identity, your will. You can decide things. Okay, sorry. Took a lot of airtime there, but this is your bridge. Sige, tapon ko na sa inyo. So guys, ano yung biblically based wisdom that we can draw from this? From the show as in general, huh? Not just what I said.
Go, Alex.
Okay, for me, there's one thing I learned in Glorious Hope. No, there are many things I learned in Glorious Hope. As a
Ano
life
lang,
coach,
what,
really.
2 sentence introduction. What is Glorious Hope? Just so my
Oh,
context tayo.
okay, for context, Glorious Hope is a 19-week program under CCF that aims to liberate people from the bondage of destructive hurts, habits, and hang-ups through our Lord Jesus Christ. So, the Glorious Hope program really helps people to process themselves through the 12 steps of recovery that leads us to healing. So each and every one of us is really broken inside, and the Christian life is very hard, and we know that we all are sinners and that we need salvation.
Right,
That
right.
salvation comes from the help of Jesus Christ that points us to God. So there. So what did I learn, or what can I apply, or what can I share for the people who are watching? So I learned before that all the good things and the bad things, they are not certainly good or not certainly bad, but they build our character. They build who we are. And in a biblical perspective, God allows good and bad things to happen to us to help us develop who we are. So once all the good things and the bad things that happen to us builds us, there we get our own uh, typically sense of self, just like what Riley felt in the end of the movie. All the
Yeah.
good and the bad things merged into one that developed who she is.
Right, right.
So there.
I think that's a interesting perspective talaga na ano eh. How we realize that her experiences are actually the ones that's molding her sense of self, who she is,
Mm,
and emotions are
mm.
just there to express those experiences in a way,
They color the experience.
and depending on how much control we give our emotions, they can drive our actions. So parang the more if you look at how the emotions are, parang the more that Riley gave anxiety control, the more na yung actions ni Riley was becoming ano filled with anxiety up to a point where she was now experiencing a panic
Mm,
attack, no, an anxiety attack, um and it was a I felt like it was a beautiful um what's
mm.
it depiction of what a paralysis analysis paralysis is, where you know
Yeah.
where anxiety was pressing all the buttons, but it was no longer uh, doing anything
Yeah.
because um,
Mm,
parang Riley's sense of self was already stuck in that state. So no matter what anxiety did, it was just only increasing Riley's anxiety rather than letting her move forward. No,
right, right.
and
She was stuck.
I think in a sense from a biblical perspective, that's also as people who learn to explore their emotions, process their emotions properly. Which is why I found it funny that Joy was throwing things to the back of the mind. Oh, I don't. We don't like this. Throw to the back of the mind. So that's gonna bite
Yeah.
back later on.
Their suppressed memories, which we find out later is, those suppressed memories, they don't go away. They still form who you are. They're just hidden until they explode.
Yeah.
So, which is what happened, right? But this is
Yeah.
a very fun movie for a psychiatrist.
Yeah, so
So,
I was just looking at it in a sense that eventually you're right, the things that were in the back of her mind was now
mm,
becoming a mountain. And eventually it has to go somewhere. So it eventually all flooded back into her belief system, because eventually whatever is then this is biblical, this is a verse, whatever is hidden will eventually come to light.
Nothing will stay hidden forever.
Yeah. So, um, in that regard, it's like I was thinking that parang it really is important. One of the things that's really really important, I think that's and that is taught in Glorious Hope, is that all your emotions, everything, your experiences, and what you're feeling about those experiences should be processed properly. No, there should be a level of processing, or else you will just devolve into your base emotions. No, like me, for example, when I don't process certain things, I devolve into sometimes anger or fear, because those are my base emotions, and they because I'm not able to what do you call this, process properly what's going on or what's happening, or what I'm experiencing in the moment, right?
Right.
So um, so with that being said, I think that's why, um, even in the Bible says that we are to guard our hearts, right? It is it's
Right.
and in the Bible, when they talk about guarding the hearts, it actually talks about your emotions. It generally talks about the emotions. And one thing that I've experienced is that guarding your heart also means guarding your mind. You cannot guard your heart without guarding your mind. And
Right.
your
Right.
mind is where the thoughts come in, the experiences come in, your memories come in. So if you're gonna just
Right.
throw them back to the back of your head, you're not gonna grow.
Yeah. Growth, which is what happens in Riley's case, growth only happens when everything is out there for you to see and be aware of. Like, you have to be aware of everything. Like, okay, I'm all of this, diba? And you acknowledge it. Nobody is good. Nobody is completely good. Nobody is completely evil. We people are a mishmash of all of these mixed up things. Generally speaking, but that's only when you deal with the truth of who you are that you can take steps to go forward, to grow. So in this case, it's only when you're totally open, knowing who you are, cognizant of who you are, that you can heal, diba? That's only when Christ can heal you. Because if you're hiding yourself, actually it's the same. Like, if you're hiding yourself from a person, hindi ka talaga makaka-grow with that person. Your relationship with that person won't grow. It will have a certain limit or extent, and it can't get any deeper or richer unless it's open. And it's painful, it's difficult, it's problematic, but the only way to go through that is you have to go through the hard things, which is just what happens in the movie. Si Riley, ang dami niyang pinagdaanan during those 3 days, which are, when we look at it, it's oh my gosh, it's tough, it's complicated, it's cringy, but it's all very real. People making all these
I think
things.
I watched what do you call this? I watched another content creator on YouTube, Cinema
Yeah.
Therapy. They also did a thing for Inside Out 2, and
Right.
one of the things that they said, which really is that at that age, when you hit puberty, or in the teen years, you have all of these
Mm.
emotions to deal with, and it's so complicated because they're all coming out all at the same time. And but I think that's why it's so important to understand that, like, if you're a parent or you're an older person who is mentoring someone young, you need to learn to you know mentor and guide people through how they process those emotions. And it's also the understanding that some people never have learned, or they barely learn, that they reach adulthood still dealing with the same emotions, no, not
Mm.
knowing how to
Yeah.
actually process them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I think that there are programs like Glorious Hope, because there are people who really never learned, or they only partially learned.
That's true.
And because
Um,
in most cases it's
speak.
not taught in schools, it's not taught by adults, right, by
That's
parents.
true. See, Riley has the incredibly effective emotional coach called plot device.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, most people don't have a plot device in their life to help them wholesomely grow without parents who are not scolding them or whatever. I mean, that's why in psychology, diba, the trope is always the guy leans back and says, "So, tell me about your childhood."
Yeah.
Because so many things come from the childhood. It's just reality. It's how you're raised, how you're brought up. It's also genetics, etc., disposition. But it's a lot of it is there. So parang, hmm. In Riley's case, in Riley's case, she had very supportive family, right? She did. Though, so very very madali yung adjustment process niya. Tsaka may plot device siya.
Yeah.
So, but for us, well, mm, yeah, not helping. Mm. Mm. Yep. Yeah. With. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's one way to grow. Most effective way to grow, actually.
What are your thoughts dun sa sinabi ko, lol?
In community, agree.
Agree with the community. Oh, can I
Yeah.
add something?
Oh, sure.
So, I think the movie also tells us about surrendering the outcomes to God. So, it's about letting go, especially the worries, especially with anxiety, with the
Yeah.
whole control panel ending thing. So,
Mm.
I think it really shows how we should really trust on the Lord, on the outcomes, on what will happen in our lives. And we just need to be ourselves and learn from every experience that we have.
I think that's really important, learning from every experience that we have. Hindi siya yung tinatago lang sa likod ng isip natin. And again, di ba, well-intentioned si Joy, but it wasn't.
Most of them are well
Uh,
intentioned, but they just do things in such a very haywire manner kasi.
uh, and I think one thing that holds true from the first movie is that all the emotions need to work together. They cannot be
Yeah.
parang one emotion
Walang
or the
solo.
other, 'di ba?
Walang solo hero.
Oo. Na parang, if you're just all joy, then you're no longer processing the bad things that are going on in your life, 'di ba? Parang ganun yung nangyari sa first movie. Eh. And in this case, 'di ba, parang if it's all anxiety, then you're no longer able to experience other things in your life kasi si anxiety na nag-take over. Wala nang joy, wala nang sadness, wala nang anger because puro anxiety na lang. And I think that's what leads to
Yeah.
depression is when one emotion just takes over and you're no longer able to process anything else. Yeah, it's getting hot so nagtanong ako ng jacket.
That's what you call depression. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Pero I find it funny na may joke na ano daw, may depression. Pag when you get adult Riley, may depression na daw. Na emotion.
Uh, we'll see. I think this is one of those few movies where you should actually make sequels, but you have to make it carefully because
Yeah.
young teen and an old teen, college Riley. I don't know if you're gonna go straight to college or if they're gonna skip to adulthood. I don't know. But there's a lot of potential in the movie pa rin.
Actually, sabi nga ng ano,
In the movie franchise.
sabi
So
nga
I
what I
hope there's
heard,
more emotions.
what I heard is that the creators of Inside Out 2, they really ano daw consulted a child psychologist
Yeah.
para ano daw may accuracy of how emotions actually play a role
Work.
in someone in that age in that age what's that
Bracket.
age bracket yon. Kasi iba daw talaga na experience ng someone in their teens in terms of their emotions versus someone who is you know, everything's just happy and joyful kasi bata pa sila. And I'm sure we all have experiences like that sometimes na parang ang saya ng bata pa tayo, no? Wala tayong iniisip na ibang issues or emotions.
Hello, nostalgia.
Nostalgia.
It would be much messier if you add in loving there.
It's interesting, no? Love is not even in the, ano.
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
be much
weird
messier.
thing. It would be, but like I hope they add more emotions like that. Like where's where are the emotions that are like that? Like love, hope, etc. It's like I know they say that there are no negative emotions. I beg to disagree slightly. Like I think there's still some emotions that are not exactly positive. Like okay, sadness. I think the word should be all emotions are valid. All emotions are real. All emotions should not be belittled or made to be said na they're not as important. That one is I think the more accurate way to say it rather than say positive there's no such thing as positive or negative emotions. The movie doesn't say that. So because there are positive emotions and there are negative emotions. I think it's just that all emotions are equally important and valid to recognize so that we can deal with them correctly. So in my case, I'm just thinking, I hope they would put more of the quote unquote positive emotions into the play. Like, if you really think about it, joy is basically the only positive emotion. Like everything else is it's medyo negative inclined, even if you don't call it purely negative. But you know, they're kind of slightly somewhat negative oriented. So I do hope there are other nuanced emotions.
I actually I was thinking that love should not be an emotion eh. Love per se. Because love is
True. Not
supposed
maybe not love. There are other emotions that might
I
work
think
better.
parang um yung that type like for example I've actually been trying to think of the right word for it but I think like parang the emotions that we feel for somebody else is not necessarily love eh. No, love is the action of making the decision to love someone. Pero yung nararamdaman natin para sa kanila is a different
Like
emotion. Parang
infatuation,
infatuation or
infatuation,
something like that.
or
Or
obsession.
obsession. Scary
That's kind of
obsession.
negative.
Sobrang
That's
negative.
kind of negative.
Yeah. Or so parang but you can introduce those kinds of emotions like compassion, empathy, yung mga ganon.
Those are skills, though. Those aren't emotions. Those are skills.
Empathy
So
is,
it's a good topic.
but compassion is. Compassion
Compassion.
is an emotion. I feel compassion for them. I feel sorry for
Uh,
them.
Parang it's a sense of solidarity. Like I feel for them.
Yes.
Like
I can empathize with
yeah.
them because I feel sorry for them. I feel what they're
Right,
feeling.
right, right.
Ganon.
Those, yeah, like those kinds of emotions. I feel like in when Riley grows up, because we're seeing of more on from just her, it's more out, diba?
Uh-uh.
How her emotions now influence her social dynamics, and then we see it with a small group of friends, immediate group of friends. So I guess maybe the next one is like, how does it impact a community or her family at large? I don't know, but there is a TV show coming out. Maybe they'll deal with it there.
TV show for
Maybe
Inside
not.
Out?
Yeah, apparently there is an upcoming TV series for Inside Out. So I don't know if it's just gonna stick to the movie emotions. I do hope to see more development and growth from the expansion emotions in the second movie.
Expansion.
And maybe we will also see additional emotions that are TV series only, which I hope will stay canon, if especially if I like them, into a third movie. So we'll see. It's possible na the high school life of Riley will take place in the TV series, and then maybe graduation or adult life is another movie. It might be that way. It seems to be a decent progression.
Pero I
So
was
we'll see how
thinking,
it.
I was thinking pala, sorry, random lang. I was thinking Envy, parang like a more mature version of Envy is someone who understands what liking something is or liking someone. Ganon,
Mm,
infatuation. It could be like, kasi si Envy is,
right.
ooh, I like this, ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
So parang a more mature,
She's a desire. She's actually a desire type emotion, right?
uh,
I want. She's a wanting type emotion. None of the others are actually that type of emotion. So
yes. So
so
I
envy
can
can
see
like
I can
yeah.
see Envy having an older a later sibling na parang desire or parang infatuation, something like that.
Yep.
As long as it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
develop into jealousy. Dark talaga
Correct.
yung jealousy.
Correct.
Siguro at this point,
Yeah.
any final thoughts about the movie and
I highly recommend it. I
ano
highly recommend it. It's a really good food for thought. It is kid friendly, very child friendly. It's good point for discussion. If as a parent, I watched it with my son as well, and it was a fun thing to talk about. It's something I wish we could have sat down more and discussed. But nonetheless, it was still a good point now. Oh, look at that. So, those are the things you're gonna be going through. These are things that happen to everyone, blah blah blah. So parang it was really good.
Oh, and your son is
Still
actually in that
very good.
age range na, going into
Yeah, he's
puberty.
11 going 12. So he is basically Riley's age-ish. So tama lang. It's about right, you know. He's feeling all those emotions.
Expect more anger. Just
Uh,
kidding.
Depende sa
More
business.
frustration.
Yeah, frustrations and
We've been seeing that for actually you see that even when they're small kids, because like kids when they don't get something frustrated, yan eh. So that's why anger's there.
True, true, true.
Yeah. So
I think that was sorry. I just want to jump in that I think that that was one concern that some parents have, kasi Disney has lately had this tendency to insert what's this, liberal, progressive, or woke, quote unquote woke ideas into their
Mm.
shows. And one of the things that was brought up, could Riley possibly be LGBT because may obsession siya dun kay ano, dun sa what do you call that,
Ano lang yan eh.
sa isang female character. And I look at it,
Yeah,
I watched
yung ano.
it, and I would say it's safe because I don't think there's really anything overt. I think it's what do you call that, fanaticism. It's really just, idol ko
She's a
siya eh.
fangirl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she,
she's a
she's a fan.
fangirl of this. It's basically like, oh my gosh, she's such a cool person.
Uh-uh.
And which is very typical of kids to
That age.
someone slightly older.
Yeah.
It's
And
like when you're a freshman and then you have seniors be like, "Oh, grabe dude, you ang cool ni ganito, 'di ba?" Which is, when you look back, it's so uh that's just
cringe.
how we are
So
at that
cringe.
age. It's a bit cringy when you look back at it because you realize that the person you're idolizing is he's also still a teenager. So it's like, but that's just how they are. It's just how kids are. They feel things because it's a new influx of like, diba? Like the control panel told us. They feel everything and they don't have the regulatory skills. There you go. So it feels more intense, but it's there. We still got it. It's just yeah.
Yeah. So I think, just to add to what you said, I think it's kid friendly. It's especially for Christian parents, if
And
anyone's
it's
wondering.
fine. It's really good. It's a really good
And it's a good
movie for
film.
people to use.
It's a good film to talk to kids about their emotions or what they're experiencing, especially if they are in
Agreed.
puberty or approaching puberty.
Yep. Agreed.
Alex, what are your thoughts? Final thoughts?
So for me, it's more of like even emotions grow up. So the emotions in the movie learn to process. Oh, I think let let Riley take the wheel this time and see how she does. So it's a great movie and it really shows the progression of our lives. And once we reach that point of nostalgia, we get to see, oh, that's what I have been doing when I was a kid. And it really teaches us or reminds us that there is joy in everything also. Not just anxiety, not just anger, not just fear. And yeah,
Right.
everything builds us up to now. So there, we just need to process each emotion and everything that's happening to us and learn from it.
Yep. We have to have the right framework to process things. I mean, yeah. What you do with the feeling is important. It's not just I feel I do. As the movie has shown, if you feel and do, things happen which aren't necessarily good. You have to work on the feeling. All right. There's also a line. These are comedy lines. There's also a line from Fear, which is really funny because he was looking at anxiety and he's like, "I can change her." I'm like, uh, Fear, really, bro? It's ironic because ang taas ng tingin niya kay anxiety. Eh.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ng salita, nakamute pala ako, sorry.
Oh
Oh
no.
no!
Oh
No.
no.
Oh well.
Ayo.
Okay lang yun. Sana yun. Pero anyways, sad. I was saying sadness with all of the emotions they were learning to grow, understand that ano parang um their emotion yung base emotion nila, kung ako si anger, ako si sadness, ako si joy, they cannot just always be joyful. They cannot always be angry. They need to know their place and need to know their ano. And I think that's the dynamic as they grow up. You start to understand that all emotions, they are valid. You experience them. Hindi mo ginagaslight yung emotions mo. Pero at the same time, may lugar siya. May tamang lugar siya. No? And sometimes it's in a sense like anger. Sometimes anger is okay, no? Especially
Yeah.
if you feel like, injustice has been done and you want to help others. Anger is okay in that
Right.
regard. No,
Right.
parang sadness is okay because sadness allows you to empathize with other people who may be experiencing the same thing, 'di ba? These are things na you eventually learn, no? Ennui allows you to be cool. Joke lang. Si Ennui talaga eh. Pakul
We're
effect
we're
pa.
still we're still we're still trying to figure out how Anui works, but yeah, we'll get to that. At least for me, I think I'm still trying to figure how it works out.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yung point ko lang doon is that in the end, in the end, parang we look at the Bible. The Bible talks about how to deal with emotions. It actually tells us
Mm.
not to be wholly, for example, not to be wholly dependent on the heart because the heart is deceptive. For example,
Uh,
it would say that. Um,
right, right.
and or you look at even in the New Testament it says that parang we are to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. So it's not the heart that should lead. Yung emotions ng heart natin should not be the one leading, but rather our thought process. And I think that's where yung belief system ni Riley is something that is allowing na parang overrides whatever emotions that they might be one might be experiencing. And yun nga, yung parang yung illustration with the older characters, the mom and dad, you see that even those
Right.
emotions, although they are existing emotions, they're actually working together. They're not parang jostling for a spot, no, or parang
Mm.
taking over. They are actually working together. Kasi if you notice kay Riley, even though the emotions were learning to learn their place, they don't work together.
Mm.
They work one at a time sa panel, 'di ba?
Yeah, yeah.
But you look at yung sa dad at sa mom, they're all at the panel. They're all working at the same time. 'Di ba?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So Riley hasn't picked that up yet.
Yes. So but that's something that would be interesting to see sa sa
Yeah, that's true.
old sa if there's an Inside Out 3 or if it's and series.
Yeah, that is something I look forward to.
Anyway, so with
All
that being
right,
said, I
I
think
think.
that's it for night for this evening. Oh,
Yep, and I do want to thank Alex for joining us tonight. We appreciate and actually maganda din yung ano kasi among all of us in our group right now, ikaw yung pinaka currently involved sa GH program, the Glorious Hope program, which really ties into, you know, examining yung mga what drives our behaviors. So the concepts in Inside Out tie in quite well to it because it's like childhood, growing up experiences, emotions, and yung core identity and belief systems, and the things like, well, it's not shown in the movie, but yung mga coping mechanisms natin, yung mga default learned behavioral patterns. Riley is still about to develop those behavioral patterns. She's at the age where
Mm-hmm.
she's developing them. As adults, we've developed them. Many of them are not healthy. So it's an interesting thing lang to note. So yeah. So yes, appreciate your being on here and pointing those things out
No
with us.
props, guys.
thanks,
Sure.
Alex. Feels good, man. Anyway, with that being said, it's been fun. It's late, and we wanna give time for you guys to actually process it. And I apologize. I keep forgetting to unmute, so I apologize for the dead air. But uh, with what you heard or I hope you learn a lot. And if you are looking to learn more or maybe hang out with a bunch of guys, or you're just looking for a safe space to talk about and process your feelings,
Mm.
wow, join us at Level Up. So make sure to like the Facebook page of Level Up Game Nights, and of
Yes,
course
sir.
you can also even subscribe to to my YouTube channel, which I stream these videos as well, which is the Christian Geek. Also, we have a
Mm.
Facebook group. You can join the Facebook group at any time, and we also have a Discord. Okay, and so search us up on Discord, and hopefully we can hang out soon. So we normally do a lot of things aside from podcasts. We actually do play games together. Um, we we also do from time to time we have devotions. Sometimes we have prayer time. Basically, it's a community of geeks supporting other geeks in Christ.
Indeed.
With that being said, thank you so much for joining us, and see you
Mm.
next time. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.